Sato Miyagawa. Trying to see, I can't really tell if it's on. It doesn't look like it is. There it is. Yeah, that's on. I see it's red.
Yeah, it should be. Which one's they powered?
That's why. You got it. Yeah.
You should see something now.
There we go. Cool. Thank you, Chip.
Today's first match features the Under-20 women's national team of Japan taking on the Under-20 women's national team of Mexico.
Welcome, everybody, to the 2015 U20 Women's NTC Invitational here in Carson, California. I'm Danny Lee. Glad you can join us from Glen Meyernick Field in the shadow of the StubHub Center as we present you the inaugural tournament featuring these four teams. Mexico, Japan coming up in a little bit, but first, here are the national anthems. Well, the United States, Japan, Brazil, and Mexico have gathered all week to play the inaugural Under-20 Women's NTC Invitational. And this is the third match day as we bring you the opener here, Mexico and Japan. Well, Japan has been a world beater here at this tournament. How so? They have outscored their first two opponents by a 7-0 tally. In fact, on Tuesday, the United States fell to Japan by a 3-0 score. And then on Thursday, Japan uncorked a 4-0 victory. Meanwhile, Mexico is still in search of its first. Defense has been quite stout. They've lost only by a score of 1-0 to both Brazil and the United States. They still have yet to find their footing here in Carson with but one match to go. And talking before the match with Roberto Medina, he had talked about the team needing the aggressiveness and to try and come up with a victory here against Japan, which has sent a squad to Carson well represented from the Under-17 World Cup title team in 2014. A number of players on this squad playing on this Japan team and trying to sweep their way through the Under-20 World Cup and hoping to come away unblemished as the two teams prepare to take the field. Glad you can join us. Danny Lee with you, as mentioned, at Meyernick Field, Carson, California, 13 miles south of downtown Los Angeles. The sun has yet to graze us with its presence here today. We have gray skies overhead to start this match. The referees, Samantha Moose in the middle of your screen holding on to the ball. Michelle Provan and Kristen Patterson will be along to assist. Japan coming out in their blue uniforms, white numerals, striped in pink. Mexico, Las Tri, the familiar green, emerald green tops, white shorts striped with red. Now these two squads, they do have a little bit of history. They did meet up in the World Cup in 2017 and certainly trying to hope for a better result than they had then, as Japan won the U17 World Cup in 2014 and bringing a core group from that squad to this team. 8 members of this Team Japan here in Carson were a member of that squad, which won it all last summer in August. All right, so at midfield, Japan, Yui Hasegawa standing alongside Hina Sugita, who were named the 2 top players in that tournament. Sugita, the golden ball at the 2014 Under-17 World Cup, and we're underway with Japan possessing first. And a long ball try on Mexico's half. Sugita falls down, and now Mexico takes possession. Monica Flores, who, as we told you on Thursday, her sister Sabrina, a member of the United States team here. The 2 twin sisters playing as teammates at the University of Notre Dame, however, in this NTC Invitational on opposite countries, no less. 50-50 ball headed down. Nancy Antonio, the Mexican captain, a brief piece of the ball, and it's loose in space. Despite the best efforts of Eva Gonzalez, Mexico under duress early, and this is the speed that we have seen all week long from Japan and what they have become known for, especially if you watch them in the last edition of the Women's World Cup, in which they won it all. Ruka Norimatsu on the far side, helping to win the ball back for Japan, and the Japanese have it. Miko Miki, and it go right back to Norimatsu, who wears the captain's armband for this Under-20 national team. Loose ball, opposite side. Here comes Japan storming up, looking for their first shot. Miyomiki is turned away, and I'll go back to Sumida. Brave touch inside the box by Shiraki, and now Mexico looking for a counterattack. Have not really had possession so far today on the Japan half. Bouncing into the corner as it goes out. Here in the 2nd minute, Danny Lee along with you. The first of our doubleheader here today, the United States and Brazil coming up next. That'll be 3:15 on the West Coast, 6:15 for those of our viewers watching over on the East Coast. Ruka Norimatsu for Team Japan handling on that back line. Been so solid for the Japanese, yet to allow a goal in the first 180 minutes of this tournament. Here's Sugita. Her pass flagged down and taken by Jocelyn Oragel. Bounding ball, Mexico snapping it up. Here's Vasquez. Ahead to Evelyn Gonzalez. Gonzalez marked well by Haza of Japan, and it's taken by Rin Sumida. Now, remember what we talked about at the top of the broadcast. Aggressive and competitive were the two buzzwords that Roberto Medina, the Mexico head coach, talked about with what his team needed to bring here today in order to try and down Japan. Here's Akari Shiraki. Mexico trying to keep it alive to prevent a corner kick. It does not look like they were successful in that end, and it looks like the first corner kick will be taking place for Japan, and doing the honors for the Japanese squad will be Yuka Miyomiki. Plays for club team NTV Beleza, 19-year-old. Beleza is the same club team which has produced Mizuho Sakaguchi and Saori Ariyoshi, who are currently on the Japanese World Cup women's team. Loose ball in the box, and it's cleared back out, and Mexico going back out to midfield. Kiana Palacios, number 11, takes the spill, and a short-lived possession once again. And as you can hear in the background, Roberto Medina certainly exercising the vocal cords in the early moments. He better pace himself. We're only 3.5 minutes in. He'll lose his voice by the 10th minute at this rate. Bad passing for Japan, normally crisp here in this tournament. And Mexico procuring possession. Last Tree, the nickname for the women's teams of Mexico. There's Jocelyn Oragel, one of 10 players on the Mexico roster born in the United States. She's from Fountain Valley, just down the road here from Carson. Storming into the box is Hasegawa across the face of goal, but Miyomiki a step behind. And Japan early on showing the aggressiveness that we have seen throughout the week, downing the United States and Brazil by scores of 3-0 and 4-0, and all but winning this first ever women's under-20 NTC tournament with 6 points and a +7 goal differential. First touch of the day for the Japanese keeper, Mamiko Matsumoto, as Mexico is yet to control very much on their attacking third. Here's Rin Sumida. Just threads a nice pass to Yuki Mizontani. And coming this way with it is Risa Shimizu, the 17-year-old, also playing with club team NTV Beleza. Down the middle comes Sumida, thundering ahead to Sugita. And Hina Sugita, we were talking with Asako Takakura, two-time World Cup women's veteran, who's the head coach of this under-20 team, and she feels like players like Sugita and Yusi Asagawa are the core of this under-20 team, as they were in the under-17 World Cup last year, but also could be finding their way onto the senior national team in not too many years. If you're familiar with the women's senior national team, a lot of players on there have a lot of mileage on the odometers, and Japan could be looking to go younger after this World Cup. Team Japan in the blue, along with Mexico, scoreless here in the first of our doubleheader on this Saturday afternoon. Glad you can settle in with us. Here's Yui Hasegawa. He goes to Hina Sugita, trying to get into the box to Miyomiki, but she's been well marked throughout the day by Jacqueline Rodriguez and Estefany Barreras, who is a member of Mexico's under-17 World Cup team in 2012, which played in Azerbaijan. And the first referee whistle for a foul is on the opposite side of the field, and Mexico deemed the aggressor. So the ball just be inside midfield, and Japan once again honing possession. Hikaru Kitagawa. And they'll reverse course to the near side to Hisui. Aza comes to Akari Shiraki. And Shiraki in trouble, triple teamed as it were. Sugita, number 14, trying to wind her way through the defense, looking for Shimizu. And it's back again to Monica Flores walking the tightrope, but gaining possession back for the Mexican team here in the 8th minute of play. As a look at Jocelyn Orahel, who plays at Colorado University at Boulder, another native of Fountain Valley, California, in Orange County, California. And another short possession for Team Mexico. Evelyn Gonzalez having a tough time hanging on. Japan up ahead. Here's Yuki Mizutani, number 11. Mexico with the takeaway. And Evelyn Gonzalez unable to break free. And Mamiko Matsumoto, who her coach calls very calm, very confident, does not necessarily have the size, as the Japanese squad does not. But what they do make up for is they make it up for in their speed, agility, and tactical proficiency, which they have shown so far through the first 2 matches here. Knocked down by Yui Hasegawa, shot! And Estefany Barreras is able to Kari Shiraki with the first shot of the game, coming here just about 8:17 in. And you see Shiraki right in behind, and a nice setup by Yui Hasegawa, number 13, but Estefany Barreras, big save. Estefany, who plays in the W League here in the United States for the Arizona Strikers, and is a product of Alhambra High School in Phoenix, Arizona. Another of the 10 players on this Mexico team born in the U.S. And the ball's snapped up by Matsumoto again. Mizutani, Team Japan attacking to our right. Hasegawa ahead. Here's Shiraki. She scans the terrain and goes to Shimizu. Shimizu on the Japan team, then finished in the quarterfinals in 2012 at the Under-17 World Cup. Mexico having to backtrack, and slipping it off is Rebecca Bernal, 17-year-old, who was on the Under-20 World Cup team in Canada in 2014. Mexico, their best finish at that Under-20 World Cup was the quarterfinals in 2010 when they lost to South Korea. Last World Cup, they failed to make it out of the group stage, losing 2 and drawing 1. Vanessa Flores getting under the ball and denying Yui Hasegawa, number 13, but it's out of bounds, and Mexico once again back on their heels. Certainly not what Roberto Medina, the 47-year-old manager of the squad, wanted coming into this affair. Here comes Jocelyn Orahel, gives it the boot near side, and it bounds out of bounds before Kiana Palacios, the soon-to-be sophomore at UC, is able to catch up to it. Yuki Mizutani, the 19-year-old, gets it out of trouble. Alone in space, Yuka Momiki, number 16. Hikaru Kitagawa. And setting up shop is Yuki Mizutani again. She dumps it off to Rin Sumida. Japan possession, opposite side of the pitch. Scoreless here, 11 minutes in. Ball's vaulted on top of the net. And it'll go back to Team Mexico, which has been harried here in the first 11 minutes, but still able to take a breath and look up at the scoreboard, which shows zeros, at least so far. Shimizu forks it over. Should say Flores, rather, down the left field on the far side, flank. Bounding ball. Who wants it? Mexico gets a brief touch on it. That's Kiana Palacios. And Ruka Norimatsu, the captain, on that back line for Japan. We're at the Under-20 Women's National Training Center Invitational. In step, Yui Hasegawa. We have a whistle and a foul against Mexico, despite the pleas from Nancy Antonio. Nancy with a couple of words for Samantha Moose, the referee. So a free kick for Team Japan, about 40 yards out from the Mexico net. And it appears as if Yuka Miyamiki will be taking it. Miyamiki had the 90th minute goal and the 4-0 win against Brazil to polish off another outstanding performance from Team Japan, which had really not played much internationally coming in. The J-League in full effect, or I should say the L-League, which is the women's version of the top league in Japan. Bounding ball over toward the byline, and now it'll be a corner kick for Miyomiki and Team Japan. One thing about Japanese women's soccer, the popularity certainly has vaulted after the 2011 triumph by the women's national team. They're coming so close in previous Olympic tournaments against the United States. There's Estefany Barreras wearing the powder blue for Mexico and sends this one 50 yards down the field. Nice strong clearing kick. And all that Risa Shimizu can do is knock it out of bounds. So finally some positive prospects here for Team Mexico. And Monica Flores will yield for Jocelyn Oragel, who played locally, 3-time league champion with the SoCal Blues, winning a state title in 2011. So she's no stranger to the area. And once again, Mexico unable to put together anything of a significant attack. And it's Hikaru Kitagawa, number 6, who will throw it in for the Japanese squad. The young Nadeshiko, the nickname for the youth women's national team. Takeaway, nearly a breakaway for Kiana Palacios. And all Mexico's able to muster is a soft pass that comes in the direction of Matsumoto. Here's Risa Shimizu scanning the landscape. She'll double it back to Isui Haza. Plays at Nippon College of Physical Education. Also take note of this Japanese team. If you've been watching the broadcast throughout the week, they're actually 2 players short. Nana Chise and Rikako Kobayashi actually returned for a high school tournament, and they left on Friday. So Japan is 2 players short here today. And just as another reminder, at this NTC Invitational, each team is allowed 6 substitutions without re-entry. A chance for all these countries to not only give caps and playing time to some of these players, but to actually scout them in live international experience, which will be huge, especially in the early stages of this World Cup cycle. And Japan not really having a whole lot of international seasoning coming into this tournament, but you wouldn't know it. Here's Hasegawa looking for the cross. Now picks it back up, gets it by Barreras, and the shot once, twice, and it's put through by Akari Shiraki, and Japan has taken the lead. The persistence of Japan. They got by Estefany Barreras after Yui Hasegawa's shot. Shiraki was denied, but then on the second try, she was able to put it through with Mexico not having their keeper, who was taken out of the play. So Shiraki gets the goal. Her first of the tournament, and the 8th for Team Japan, and they're up 1-0 here in the 17th minute.
Goal scored for Japan in the 16th
There's Ruka
minute by
Norimatsu,
number 19,
the captain.
Akari Shiraki.
Shiraki, who plays for the Urawa Reds, playing in Saitama, Japan in that L League, which is the Women's Professional League, which has garnered a pretty big following, as we talked about. Japan getting most, if not all, of its players from their top flight league, which helped win the World Cup in 2011. So Shiraki with the assist from Hasegawa, and we have a 1-0 Japan lead. Japanese trying to go 3-0 here in Carson this week. Here's Risa Shimizu. Yui Hasegawa. Chested down. Behind the back, however, of Miyamiki. Once again, Japan sending 2 into the box, but Barrera's there to pluck this one out of the air. Question is, can Mexico finally have a response here? They lost the first 2 of this tournament by 1-0 scores to the United States and Brazil. Bad pass sent back toward Jocelyn Orahel. Japan certainly using this tournament as a tune-up. They have the Asian Championships coming up in August. Misclearance by Ruka Norimatsu. And it'll be Mexico taping over deep on Japan's half here at the NTC Invitational Field, Mooch Meyernick Field. Named after the man who was inducted into the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame in April in recognition of his contributions, and they have been numerous. They were numerous to the U.S. Youth National Program. Throw in headed away by Kiana Palacios, the anteater at UC Irvine, here in the 19th minute. Danny Lee with you. Glad you can join us. Remember, the United States and Brazil will be squaring off right after the match here, so stick with us here on ussoccer.com. Japan looking for more. Here's Sugita. Pass turned around. Rocky, and it is put through on the back end by Miyomiki, and Japan has just doubled its lead. The Mexican defense sweeps around, and Yuka Miyomiki makes them pay. And just like that, Japan takes a 2-0 lead. That's the second goal for Miyomiki. And you see, just able to punch it through. Nice passing once again from Japan, just as we have come to expect from the tactically sound Japanese national team. Sugita helped set it up. And then it was Shiraki also with the assist before Miyomiki was able to get her second goal here in Carson. So Japan now leading all comers in this tournament 9-0.
Goal scored for 20th minute.
So Mexico will have a throw in deep here on the near side. It's be throwing Jocelyn Orahel up into the air, headed up by Monica Flores. As we mentioned, a twin sister of Sabrina will be playing for the U.S. in a couple hours. Ruka Norimatsu. And in the middle of the pitch, it's Akari Shiraki, who's been busy in recent moments, assisting on one goal after she scored in the 16th minute. 2-0 Team Japan, and then Adashiko looking for yet another shutout. The defense has certainly done the job as well as the offense has this week. Matsumoto, the keeper, ahead. As we talked about, Japan tuning up in August for the Asian Football Championships to try and play their way into the Under-20 World Cup. It was a sore spot for Japan not to get there. They finished 4th at the championships leading up to the 2014 World Cup. So you know, with this core group having won the 2017 World Cup last year in Canada, they're going to be motivated to try and get Japan back there. And if these 3 matches have been any clue to how strong this squad is, boy, look out to the opposition, certainly. Here's Mexico, Jocelyn Orahel. Goes through the wickets of Hisohaza. It was whistled for the foul. Monica Flores tried to speed it up, and the referee Samantha Moose will have none of it, so it'll be a free kick taken by Jocelyn Orahel, hoping to put a charge in it and trying to cut this lead into half. 22nd minute, it's 2-0 Japan. Takeaway still. It's 1-on-3 essentially, and Shiraki nearly took it away. Instead, it's grabbed by Miyamiki. Akari Shiraki trying to take on 3 green-shirted Mexico players. And Team Japan again taking it back, resting at Kitagawa. Mizutani, number 11. Over to the captain, Norimatsu. 2-0 Japan. Busy day in soccer on the FIFA level. Certainly a busy day in soccer here in Carson. Inside the box shot, chip try, tipped. That was Sugita, Golden Ball winner from the last World Cup. Later tonight, the LA Galaxy will be playing next door. You also have the Women's World Cup starting, the Men's Under-20 World Cup also currently taking place. So busy time in the sport. Just about passing the halfway point of this first half. Japan already laying it on Mexico and looking for more out of the corner. Miki up into the air, out swung, back post, getting a head on it. Shimizu out of harm's way by Mexico, sent out toward midfield by Evelyn Gonzalez, a de facto defender in the absence of any attack by Team Mexico. Here comes Yuya Hasagawa. Oh, and it just went right through the legs of Mizutani, or else she had a shot from about 8 yards out, point blank, to make it 3-0. Nancy Antonio, the captain, wears number 6 for Mexico. It's tracked down by Sonia Vasquez, who's had a chance few touches, the 18-year-old midfielder for Mexico. 50-50 ball. It goes over the head of Kiana Palacios and back to Japan, and that's something that Mexico, coming in, had hoped that they would have the advantage on Japan, the size and certainly the physical aspect. But if Japan has shown nothing this week, it's that they are unfazed by not necessarily having the numbers as far as height or strength, but they do have the agility, and they have shown that here today, keeping much of the possession on Mexico's half. And it's certainly been the calling card for all of Japan's teams, not only the women's teams, but the men's teams as well. Usually outsized, but making up for it with their tactical and deft proficiency at all levels. Nice defense on the opposite side of the pitch by Jacqueline Rodriguez. 25th minute of action. It's 2-0 Japan. Goals by Shiraki and Miyomiki. Japan on the attacking third again. And they'll get a throw in on the far side. This is the second tournament for the Mexico Under-20 national team played in the United States. In April, they played a collegiate tournament against 3 collegiate teams. This shot just goes wide of the face of goal. That from Rin Sumida, number 10 for Japan. And it'll be Estefany Barreras, the 19-year-old from Phoenix, Arizona. Third year on the national team for her. She also played on the youth Olympic team, in addition to the Under-17 World Cup. Well traveled, going all the way to Azerbaijan for that. All the teams, including the ones you'll see here throughout the week and throughout today, as far as today's action, all trying to qualify for the 2016 Under-20 World Cup, which we played in the interesting confines of Papua New Guinea next summer. Japan with possession. Shiraki, far side. That one just lifted over. Strong shot by Hikaru Kitagawa. Kitagawa, a member of that Under-17 champion team. We mentioned 8 players on this squad here in Carson. a member of that team. Kitagawa, the one player on the squad that plays for the Japanese National Academy program. Sending it down the field is Orahel. Looking for an opportunity finally, Palacios. But once again, Japan playing very sound defense. And we've got a foul and a turnover for Mexico yet again. Team Mexico, the only team in the tournament entering play today without a goal. Shut out by Brazil and the United States by 1-0 scores. Japan reshuffling the deck. Here's Shimizu, number 4, on the bottom of your screen. Miyomiki. Azah. Tracked down by Palacios. Had a very good year for UC Irvine this past fall, scoring 4 goals and having an assist. Played at Mission Viejo High School in South Orange County, California. At midfield, here's Hazah, battling with Evelyn Gonzalez of Mexico. Norimatsu out to midfield. And Mizutani sweeps it around to Kitagawa, number 6, alone in space. Looking ahead to Hasegawa. And there's Sugita trying to take Mexico 1-on-2. That time unsuccessful. Japan, though, leading by a 2-0 score. Here in the 29th minute of play from the Women's NTC Invitational. The inaugural event for the under-20s, though there have previously been 2 under-17 NTC Invitationals played on this field, both won by the United States, though the one last year here in Carson, the United States beat Japan to win it all in the final game. And there are actually a couple of players on this Japan squad that actually were here in Carson, losing the United States, but it's safe to say they got a little bit of revenge in their 3-0 win on Tuesday over the U.S. Miyomiki, and it'll dump it off to Mizutani, number 11. There's Sugita. Sugita trying the shot from far away, and it skips right into the arms of Barreras. Sugita's mentioned winning the Golden Ball Trophy at the U17 World Cup. 5 goals, 2 assists. She actually very much a seasoned player, too, playing for the club team Kobe Leonessa, which has 7 players on the Women's World Cup roster currently, including some names you might recognize. Homare Sawa, the 2012 FIFA World Cup player, or the World Player of the Year. Coming into that tournament, 197 caps, folks. 6th World Cup is tied with Brazil's Formiga for the most all time. As we talked about that Women's World Cup event kicking off today as the Canadians take on Team China. Risa Shimizu, Japan with Rin Sumida. Japan dressed in the blue and white. Mexico in the green with white shorts. Coming down the middle, Japan looking for another goal. Here's Hasegawa trying to loft it over, and she does just that. And Barreras is just left standing and watching the back of the net as Japan goes up by a 3-0 score. And Hina Sugita in on the action yet again. In the 31st minute, Japan goes ahead 3-0. Once again, the skillful work by Shiraki going to Yui Hasegawa, and Hasegawa just able to get it over and completely fool Barreras. And now it's 3-0 Japan, and it's not even halftime left.
For Japan in the 32nd
Hasegawa,
minute by number 13, Yui Hasegawa,
who had 3 goals in the Under-17 World Cup Championship effort, gets her first goal this week. Here's Sugita again. Sugita launches it just wide of the near post. And it's open season on Team Mexico's nets, and Roberto Medina, who was the manager of the Under-20 World Cup team in 2010, then left the Women's Youth National Program to go work in the front office at Pumas, men's professional team in Mexico, before he came back last year to take the reins of Mexico's Under-20 team. Trying to find some answers. Not a whole lot has been answered here this week, with Mexico, as he mentioned, not having a lot offensively, and here today their defense with a lot of gaps. And Japan having the longest way to go, a long flight to get over to Carson, California, which will be met with an equally long journey tomorrow when they leave. Hoping to bring some hardware home with them, and certainly they're well on their way, having outscored the opponents they've faced here this week 10-0. Here's Miyomiki, one of the 3 goals here in the first half for Japan. Just an all-out dominating performance. Mizutani over to Shiraki, and Shiraki denied for the moment by Sonia Vasquez. Now on the near side, here's Shimizu. Shimizu undaunted by the much taller Orachel. And Japan will have their 3rd corner kick of the afternoon. So goals in the 16th, 19th, and 31st minutes. For Team Japan, and Mexico will make a substitution here in the 34th minute. Remember, both teams allowed up to 6 substitutions. Jocelyn Orahel will come to the touchline. It'll be Liliana Rodriguez to replace her and try and provide any assistance on the back line.
Liliana Rodriguez.
So Liliana Rodriguez will come in. Jacqueline Rodriguez will also come out. And coming in her place will be Julissa Davila, trying to get her teammates' attention, but it will have to wait. Now the referee will blow the whistle. Now here comes Julissa Davila. So in comes Rodriguez, as will Davila. So a couple of reinforcements on the back line, but perhaps a little late. Mexico already finding themselves down 3 goals and having a tough time scoring 1 goal, let alone 3 of them. They're trying to plug the leaks here in the first half. Out of the corner, it's Miyomiki. Designated corner kick taker. This one's blasted, outswung, but kept alive by Team Japan. Here's Yui Hasegawa. Headed down by Shiraki, looking for goal number 2, but just wide, and it looked like she may have been offside regardless. Estefany Barreras hoping the reinforcements help her, as she has seen a lot of balls come her way, and we're only 35 minutes plus in the first of 2 here today at the NTC Invitational. Danny Lee with you. Glad you can join us here on ussoccer.com as we bring you the first edition of this Under-20 Invitational Tournament. Another turnover for Mexico, and that's something we have seen far too often here today. As we mentioned, Mexico playing that tournament in April on U.S. soil. That was in Chicago. They played against the University of Chicago, Michigan, and the University of Notre Dame. So they did have a little bit of seasoning coming in. And Japan, as we told you, really didn't have much because of the L-League schedule, the women's top division. It didn't afford Asako Takakura and the national under-20 coaching staff a whole lot of time to get the team together to train for this tournament, but you wouldn't know it, right? Isui Haza being chased from behind. And here's Rin Sumida, and Haza turning it over for Japan, so a rare turnover for the Japanese, and a throw-in coming for Liliana Rodriguez, one of the new entries into the game for Team Mexico. Lastri. And it'll stay with Mexico. As we mentioned, one of the interesting characteristics with the women's national teams in Mexico is the presence of a lot of U.S.-born players. It's certainly the case with this team. But one thing as well is the women's team has seen a consistency not normally known for in the sport of soccer. The senior national team has had the same head coach since 1998, Leonardo Cuellar has coached the senior national team and will do so this World Cup as well. Throwing for Team Japan. His son Chris was the under-20 women's national team for a little bit. And was actually the assistant at USC for a little bit. He actually coached under Ali Khosrowshahin, who won a national championship for USC back in 2007. Ali, also a coach, an assistant coach with Mexico in his career. Once again having trouble on the opposite side of the pitch, it's Julissa Davila, along with Liliana Rodriguez coming in rare first half substitutions, but such has been the story in the first 38 minutes plus for Mexico. 3-0 Japan. Shiraki, Miyomiki, and Hasegawa accounting for the goals. There's Flores, number 8 for Team Mexico. Backdoor to Palacios. Palacios trying to out-muscle Sumida. Headed up into the air by Kitagawa of Japan. 50-50 won by the Japanese squad, Mizutani. And the Nadeshiko denying Mexico again. Mexico still without a shot in the first 39 minutes of this opening period. Japan, meanwhile, with 3 goals hitting the back of the net and comfortably in the lead. And Japan has all but made it official that they will win this NTC Invitational. Even if some way they lose this on goal differential alone, right now they're plus 10. Every other team entering the day was in the negative thanks to this Japanese team in no small part. There's Mizutani up ahead. Shiraki finds Hasegawa, who slips and falls. We've seen a couple of players fall down and offside. They'll give it back to Mexico. Mexico, as is the story of the United States, certainly trying to ramp up preparations for the CONCACAF Championships, which will be taking place in December in Honduras. That the entry tickets for next summer's World Cup and certainly a point of contention for all the teams involved. Mexico and Brazil failing to win a single match at the U20 World Cup. Japan didn't make it, and the United States getting bounced in the quarterfinal stage after winning it the previous time. And that's what Michelle French has talked about. No talk about the World Cup. Squarely focused on all the events coming up this year, most notably that CONCACAF Championship. Top of the box, Japan trying to work its magic once again inside on Mexico. Cross goes right by Hasegawa, but in reserve. The shot taken, and it looks like on the opposite side, Mizutani has scored yet another for Japan. Boy, the onslaught continues, and it's now 4-0 in favor of Japan, and the seat's not even that warm yet. And we'll see the replay here again. You see the excellent passing, crisp by Team Japan, and just that extra little touch, and the goal put through, the fourth of the day. That was Mizutani right there, the cross by Shimizu. And on the opposite side, was that Hasegawa? It looked like Hasegawa again. The second straight goal. Boy, Japan just so technically sound in this tournament.
Goal
they don't make a whole lot of mistakes.
42nd minute by number 16, Yuka Miyomiki.
So actually they're giving it to Miyomiki.
Riza
So Miyomiki getting her second goal of the day. And so much great passing there. Shimizu credited with the assist, but also you saw Mizutani, who may, after this match in the game summary, also pick up an assist on the play. And it's now 4-0, the same score line that Japan saw against Brazil. But remember, in that match on Thursday, they were only leading 1-0 at the half. This is 4-0, and it's not even halftime yet. Liliana Rodriguez headed down by Haza. And back to Japan. Sugita threads it through. Nice pass to Shiraki. She hurdles Barreras, but can't keep the ball in bounds, and it will be Mexico's possession. So it's been a frustrating affair for Mexico. Already 2 first-half substitutions. Not a whole lot from the defense. The offense has been stymied so far in this first half. Well, and all they're looking to do here is trying to see if they can take some positives, because there's not a whole lot of them to take from this first half of play. The defense doing a reasonably decent job in the first 2 matches, holding the United States to only the Mallory Pugh goal, and losing to Brazil 1-0 on the Brenna goal on Tuesday. But today, a couple of goals by Miyomiki, one by Shiraki and Hasegawa. And we're nearing the end of this first half, and Mexico will be limping over into the halftime interval, trying to find answers to a lot of questions. And plays like this, very emblematic of the way this first half has gone, as Nancy Antonio has the possession for about a handful of seconds before she's mobbed by the Japanese midfield. Pass ahead. Hasegawa one-on-one with Barreras, dances to the left, shoots, and just fires it into the shrubbery. More nice footwork from Hasegawa, but that time just a hair off. Roberto Medina currently giving the business to the 4th official over here below us, Reina Fonseca. Here on the near side, Hina Sugita.
The referee has added a
Monica Flores.
of 2 minutes of stoppage time to the
Can't
first
hang
half.
on, so 2 more minutes of stoppage time. I think if you're wearing the green and white right now, you would have liked to have had the clock stop at 45 and just patch up the wounds and pack it in for the halftime break. Right now it's been all Japan, and it doesn't show any signs of abating. Up ahead, here comes number 19, Akari Shiraki, chased down by Flores. And all Mexico can do is kick it out of bounds to try and get a couple of breaths of air before Japan starts up their attack once again. Sugita. Through the middle, a shot, and a nice stop by Barreras there on Miyomiki, who nearly had a first-half hat trick. Got her right foot on it, but Barreras was able to deflect it. She's made a couple of nice stops. However, she has not had a whole lot of favors done by her defense here today. And as you look at the score, I would show that, but look, nice work by Barreras to keep Miyomiki, number 16, from scoring the hat trick. Here in the first 45 minutes plus, the whistle blows, and the first half is over, if not this match for Mexico. First half didn't look pretty. It was all Japan. Shiraki in the 16th minute. Miyomiki 2-0 in the 19th with her first goal in the tournament. Hasegawa in the 31st minute, 3-0. And then Miyomiki getting the brace in the 42nd minute of action to make it 4-0. So Japan well on their way to an unblemished tournament, having scored 10 goals through the first 2.5 matches without having allowed a single goal, and having the longest trip to make here and not having much in the way of international seasoning in the 2015 calendar year, but having the core of that 2017 or 2014 Under-17 World Cup on this pitch. They have been tactically something to watch. Meanwhile, Mexico still looking for its first goal and having yielded 4 in this first half. A lot of questions to answer. We'll step away for a little bit here, but stay with us. In just a little bit, we'll be back with the second half. But as we've reached the halftime mark here in Carson at the Under-20 Women's NTC Invitational, it is Japan 4, Mexico 0. pitch, ability with which she's seen from her squad, and said something interesting that outside of a handful of players who we documented, all these other players are fighting for spots on the squad. This one's a liner by Miyomiki looking for her hat trick, but Barreras is there with the save. She specifically pointed out Yui Hasagawa with 2 goals today. Hina Sugita, who's assisted on a couple. And Mamiko Matsumoto, who has started all 3 in net for Japan. But other than that, it's certainly open for competition as to who starts. But even though a lot of the players have that under-17 World Cup experience, we see some still on the bench. Some came off the bench to start. Okay with coming off and playing the role of just being reinforcements. Very selfless team this is, to say the least. Here's Sugita. And it'll be out of the corner for Team Japan. And as we talked to you a little bit in the first half of play, the Women's World Cup triumph back in 2011 for Japan, an unprecedented run in which they toppled the United States. That was big for the sport of women's soccer in Japan, and the popularity has flourished over the last 4 years or so, and it's getting more and more competitive, and the talent base is growing. Another substitution for Japan, Hina Sugita, the golden ball winner from the Under-17 World Cup last summer. She'll come off the pitch, and Rumi Miura will take her spot, number 15, as Japan waits on yet another corner kick. This to be taken by Miyomiki yet again. Japan up by 5 goals on Team Mexico, looking for more. Up into the air, and it's headed away by Flores. We'll see her sister Sabrina in a little bit, playing for Team USA.
Number 15, Narumi Miura.
So it'll be Miyomiki once again setting out of the right corner. So her second time in a row on the corner kick, and this one's punched out by Barreras. And Miyomiki trying to keep it alive. Flag goes up. We got a delayed offside, and then the whistle does blow. So it will be Mexico possession. And now Mexico will make another substitution. They'll be using their 5th of 6 substitutions allowed. Belen Cruz, 16-year-old from Acapulco, Mexico, who was on the U17 World Cup team, had a goal at the tournament. She'll be coming in and taking the spot of Sonia Vasquez. And she forgot her shin guard, so a momentary delay. And she'll slip them in. Belen Cruz, she scored the game-winning penalty kick in the final of the U17 CONCACAF Championships to send them to the World Cup, giving them their first ever regional title. Yeah, that's right. They won the CONCACAF U17 title last year, and it was Cruz who had the game-winning penalty kick to secure the spot for Team Mexico.
In the 61st minute for Mexico, and
62nd minute.
17,
Japan
Belen Cruz,
up by 5 goals.
Number 16, Sonia Vasquez.
Loose ball, nice tackle made by Rebecca Bernal, and Bernal with the takeaway. See Bernal towering over her counterparts in blue. And there's Cruz getting her first touch, coming right off the bench for Roberto Medina. So a lot of work for Coach Medina and his staff going into this summer, trying to see where this stands. They did have plenty of training in the run-up to this tournament. As we mentioned, they played in that 3-team collegiate tournaments back in April against the University of Chicago, Michigan, and the University of Notre Dame. But still more work is needed as they're looking at Japan, and also Roberto Medina talked about the United States and Germany, and it doesn't matter what level, those 3 countries certainly would qualify as the teams to beat. Yuka Momiki will give it off this time. And having a backtrack is Asato Miyagawa, number 9. There's Shimizu. Japan possession. Miura. Sumida. There's Gonzalez and a takeaway. Nice play by Kitagawa. Kitagawa goes right by the defender, Davila. Kitagawa keeps it alive, but it's deflected off of Vanessa Flores. Flores, another of the players on Team Mexico, slated to play Division I NCAA soccer next year. She's committed to play at West Virginia, native of Houston, Texas. Down the middle, open season for Seike and Barreras with the stop, but Seike had a good look at it. Once again, getting behind Mexico's defense, which had allowed only 2 goals in the first 2 matches of this tournament against the United States and Brazil. But here today, they allowed 4 in the first half and 5 total. Cruz. And keeping it at bay is Sumida. Throw-in for Mexico. Mexico women's senior national team. They begin their World Cup journey against Colombia on Tuesday. And as we talked about, the popularity of the sport in Mexico, certainly not quite what it is in Japan at the moment, but it has been gaining popularity. In fact, the Superliga Femenil de Fútbol was established in the country in 2007, and the talent level there has slowly been getting better. Women's national team with Leonardo Cuellar, having been the manager for now 17 years. So the program is getting certainly some consistency. Here's Katia Martinez. And the frustration for Mexico having to take shots from that far out. As frustrating as Japan has been, they've not allowed them a whole lot. A couple of shots here in the second half after not really getting anything in the first. Another substitution for Team Japan, Yuka Miyamiki, with 2 goals here today. She comes out of the match. And Shiho Matsubara, as mentioned, another one of those players on the World Cup team from last summer, coming into this contest. Matsubara with a couple of goals in that winning run in Canada last summer. Possession will stay with Mexico here. Matsubara played at the U17 NTC Invitational here in Carson last year, in which Japan finished 2nd to the U.S. Oh, that one was right to the stomach of Kitagawa, and she'll try and jog it off, but she has her hands on her hips trying to catch her breath there. About 2/3 of the way through this one, and it'll be Monica Flores from the corner. And keep in mind, something we talked about is that Japan 2 players short, 2 players that returned to play for their high school tournament. And things a little different there. The high school teams also in Japan's club circuit in the L League. In fact, the 2 players, Nana Chise and Rikaku Kobayashi, play for Tokiwagi Gakuen High School, which is actually in what they call the Challenge League in the L League. That's the 3rd division, if you want to think about it as far as league pyramids. A lot of the other ladies on the squad all play in the top division in that L League. Good run here for Seike. Launches the shot and puts it to the back of the net. Barreras got a hand on it, but could not deny Kiko Seike and Japan's 6th goal of the day. This coming in the 68th minute. Kiko, the 18-year-old, had 2 goals the other day in the 4-0 win over Brazil. This is her 3rd goal of the tournament. So pretty much all academic. You just saw just the power exuded there by Seike, and she came off the bench here in this second half. So the 18-year-old who plays for the Urawa Reds, three-time Japanese women champions in the L League. And getting herself into the match summary. But 6-0, I think you can say this was quite an unexpected turn of events, with Mexico playing a couple of close contests in the first two here in Carson. Japan came in having scored 7 goals in the first 2 matches, and they've scored 6 goals alone here today, and there's still over 20 minutes to go in this match. And another look at it. There's Seike. Look how much space she has, and that's been some of the concerning evidence for Mexico. No one marking her, not within 2 or 3 feet. She was able to roam right into the Mexico box. And the goals that we have seen come from Japan have largely been unmarked. But with a couple of stops, but the defense in front of her has not done a whole lot of favors. And it's interesting, too, because Mexico has had the opportunity to have training camps the last couple of months coming in, and had a tournament, as mentioned, in April against 3 collegiate teams. Japan, not so much. Playing league competition, these ladies have been, but playing together, they really have not had that luxury since they were all together for the U17 World Cup. But you would not know it. I think we've said that a couple times here today, but it's just unbelievable how much of a dominating performance we have seen from the Japanese. Nadeshiko here this afternoon. Just all over the place, and not 1 ounce of space for Mexico. And possessions like that certainly underscore that point. Davila into the game here in the second half, and really bombarded from the moment she touched the ball. Here's Hikaru Kitagawa. She'll do the honor. Kitagawa, as mentioned, the 18-year-old playing for the Japanese National Academy team. Puts a charge into the far side. Getting a head on it and putting it through is Narumi Miura, running in the back door. And once again, no defense being shown by Team Mexico. 7-0 is the count. So Japan in 1 match alone has doubled their goal scoring efforts from the first 2 here in Carson, and this is a complete onslaught. I think if the first half didn't give us enough evidence, it's safe to say that Japan will be the champions of the first ever U20 Women's NTC Invitational. Yet to allow a goal and scoring 14 of their own. And not done yet. Here's Seike. Miura came off to score her first goal in the tournament. Miura playing with NTV Menina, which is the academy team of NTV Beleza in Japan. Nice athletic play there by Nori Matsu, but she went over the top. And actually, after hitting the ground, she is the recipient of the foul. So it is Japan's possession. And look, wide open on the near side. Here's Matsubara, but she was offside. So that time, Matsubara offside. Matsubara, though, getting a credit for the assist on the goal from Miura. So just to look at the damage done here from Japan. The carnage looks like this. Shiraki with the goal in the 16th minute. Miyomi in the 19th. Hasegawa in the 31st. Miyamiki in the 42nd. Then in the second half, Hasegawa 47th minute. Seike in the 68th. And Miura in the 71st minute. And Japan has rolled a 7 on Mexico. Mexico certainly just concerned with getting that 0 off the board. They have yet to score a goal this week. And another look at that last goal. Miura just basically running into the ball. And it's got to be so frustrating for Barreras to be on the receiving end of 7 goals going right past her. And Lastri at this point deflated, just to say the least. Hikaru Kitagawa trying to clear it out of trouble onto the near side. Here's Janae Gonzalez. She'll chase it out of bounds and have the throw in for Mexico. Janae Gonzalez, another Los Angeles native on this team, 18-year-old. She's committed to play at Santa Clara. She also played in the U.S. youth system. She was on the U15 national team. This ball's scooped up by Matsumoto. Gonzalez playing with the NorCal Blues, rep Mexico at the U17 World Cup. This past summer had a couple of goals in the quarterfinal loss, or a couple of goals in the World Cup, but also played in the quarterfinal loss to Team Japan. So she's on her way to play for the Broncos next fall. And misfired clearance from Liliana Rodriguez in Japan. Here we go again, winding up the machine. Hasegawa denied. And Mexico will get it back. So Japan returns home tomorrow. Players will go back to their respective teams, but they have that Asian Football Championship coming up in August, and as we mentioned, much earlier than the CONCACAF Championship to determine the spots for the World Cup in 2016. And remember, Japan missed that Under-20 World Cup last year. Here's Rin Sumida. Near side. Picking up possession is Kitagawa, trying to get by Vanessa Flores. No relation to Monica. Sidestep in the defense. Here's Katy Martinez. Poke tackle from behind by Matsubara. And a foul is called on Matsubara, so free kick now for Janae Gonzalez, who grew up just down the road from here. Now living in Northern California, but also, of course, with Mexico citizenship. Throwing for Monica Flores. You're not needing to adjust your computer screens at home. That is a 7 for Japan. It's 7-0, still with 15 minutes to go. 4 goals scored in the first half, 3 in the second. And Mexico will now send in Brianna Woodall, another of the 10 players on the squad born in the United States. Brianna from Houston, Texas, just 16 years of age. She had the goal against the United States in CONCACAF qualifying. She'll replace Kiana Palacios. Brianna knocking the United States out of qualifying for the U17 World Cup in 2014. However, unfortunately for her, she's making the comeback trail. Before the start of the U17 tournament, she tore her ACL. Boy, so unfortunate timing for her, but then again, when is it good for a torn ACL? Brianna tore the ACL in a warm-up match against Venezuela right before the tournament, so she was unable to play, and has just been recently back on the pitch. Here she is for Mexico, wearing the number 15. And what has been relegated to cleanup duty here for the players coming on for Mexico, finding themselves in a 7-goal deficit. Japan manning the attack again is Miura. We got another offside whistle on the opposite half of the pitch. So possession back to Lastri. Mexico having qualified for 6 out of the 7 Under-20 World Cups, by the way. in addition to the Under-17 World Cup. These two countries also meeting at a major event at the 2010 U20 World Cup. That's where Japan and Mexico played a thriller, a 3-3 draw. Safe to say this match has not quite lived up to that standard. This one will go all the way through, and it'll be one of those few touches for Mamiko Matsumoto, trying to earn herself another clean sheet. Japan has played almost 260 minutes of scoreless soccer here this week. And well, in this match, you can attribute much of that to the strength of the midfield and the player. The defense hasn't had to do a whole heck of a lot. Mexico has not really had much possession time on Japan's half of the green here in Carson. Japan ready to bring in Mizuki Sonoda in just a moment. She's coming in, and Yui Hasegawa will come out. So Hasegawa and Miyomiki both out now, both with a couple of goals, and Hasegawa leaving with a smile on her face, and why not? Her team is up big. She scored 2 goals. She, the silver ball trophy winner at the U17 World Cup, is the second best player behind her teammate Ina Sugita last summer in Canada. And now here comes Japan again as the winds have picked up in Carson. Once more, Asato Miyagawa. Miyagawa again on the second try, and it's just parried off the crossbar by Barreras, or else that would have been goal number 8. Good play by Barreras, the Phoenix, Arizona native. And on the opposite side of the field, here's Sumida. Japan not done yet. Seike trying to chip it by Barreras. Gets behind her. All she has to do is tap it in, and she does just that. As Barreras was defending, and there is the second goal now for Seike, and it is now 8-0 Japan. So Kiko Seike, the 18-year-old, coming off the bench in the second half for the Nadeshiko, and she, along with Hasegawa and Miyomiki, each with 2 goals. And you saw the first efforts by Barreras, but there you go, as we've been talking about, no help from the defense. And despite the fact that Seike's first attempt right there was blocked, Seike staying with it, and no one on the back line for Mexico there to help out. And Barreras, credit to her to recover to try and get a hand on the second try, but Seike right there from point blank. And it's 8-0 here in the first of the doubleheader, with the USA and Brazil coming up in a little bit. Just after 3 o'clock here on the West Coast. Here comes Japan again. Matsubara trying to get her name in the scoring sheet, but this one is scooped up by Estefany Barreras. So 8 goals against. The stat sheet, probably not something that Mexico's going to study all too much after today here in Carson, California. You can still hear Roberto Medina underneath, off to our right, still imploring his team. But the looks on the faces of these ladies for Las Tri, it's not certainly an encouraging sign. If at the very minimum, they're hoping to try and at least get a goal on the board here in Carson. We're unable to do that against the United States and Brazil, losing 1-0 on both accounts. And today allowing 8 goals. Here comes Brianna Woodall. She's tripped up in a foul and a free kick for Mexico, as Woodall is slow to rise, and certainly concern whenever you see her hit the pitch after that ACL injury she suffered last year. So Nancy Antonio along with Monica Flores, and it'll be Flores, it looks like. Well, and Narumi Miura was running up to the ball, and that's kind of been the day for Japan. They've had possession so long, you could probably excuse her for thinking that it was Japan's free kick. But no, it is indeed Mexico's possession. Japan walling up down the middle, and here comes Monica Flores. And it's wide, actually, correction, that was Rebecca. And well wide of the mark, so Mamiko Matsumoto will clear it out here in the 83rd minute, 8-0. 4 goals in the first for Japan, 4 goals in the second half. Shiraki, Miyomiki, and Seike, each with 2 goals apiece. Miura and Hasegawa, or I should say Shiraki, Miyomiki, Hasegawa, Seike, Miura, the goal scorers. Hasegawa, Seike, and Miyomiki each with 2 goals apiece. Shiraki and Seike just the lone goal for the 2 of them. So Japan with 5 different goal scorers to account for the 8 goals scored here today. And even though it'll be a long trip home for these ladies after this one, it'll be a pleasant one. So we have our first yellow card on the opposite side of the pitch. And at this point, just frustration for Mexico. One of dejection is this performance.
Yellow card issued in the 85th minute to number 4, Rebecca Bernal of Mexico.
Bernal, the recipient of the caution from Samantha Moose. Going down as Hikaru Kitagawa, but quickly taken back by Miyagawa of Japan. And dashing ahead to pick it up is Barreras. And we'll see, we've got about 5.5 minutes left in this one. And we'll see how merciful the 4th official is to add stoppage time on this one, with an 8-goal difference separating Japan and Mexico. Miyagawa should go ahead to Seike. Seike now looking for the hat trick. Seike dancing to the defense, trying to give it up to Matsubara, who tried to stay on side. That's why she was behind the ball. And Mexico will do the honors deep on their half of the pitch. Julissa Davila, a native of Monterrey, Mexico, 17-year-old defender. Throw goes right back to Kitagawa, however. And through the defense comes Sonoda. And that one's wide of the goal face, over to the far side, and it'll be Mexico's possession once more here in the 86th minute. Once again, the wind's pretty strong here, blowing across the field here at the National Training Center in Carson, California, about 13 miles south of downtown Los Angeles. And if you're curious, yes, I did count them as I drove here. Team Japan on the near side. Here's Misaki Takamura. Nice touch on the balls we've seen all day long from Japan. Here's Kitagawa to the opposite side, running in as Miura looking for her 2nd goal of the match. It's out of bounds, and it will nevertheless be a corner kick for Japan. Mexico begging for those final minutes to tick off the clock, as Japan not really showing much sense of urgency to take this corner kick. Why would they? Already up 8. More than doubling their goal scoring total from the first 2 matches here in this Invitational. Here's Miura, 18-year-old midfielder, playing for the same academy team that produced Aya Miyama and Karina Maruyama, the former on the World Cup squad once again for Japan. This shot deflected off the foot of Sonoda. Up into the air it goes, headed down by Janae Gonzalez, and out toward midfield where Shimizu gets a touch on it. Janae Gonzalez trying to take back possession as Japan going the wrong direction, but they will have the throw-in here in the 88th minute. And slow to get up is Kati Martinez, number 21, holding on to her right leg. And now training staff will look over. It looks like Susana Garcia, the doctor for Team Mexico here. And we'll have a break in the action here in the 88th minute. Here at Meyer-Nick Field, Team Mexico just hoping that the final minutes here tick away. But at the very minimum, hoping all their players are able to walk off under their own volition. And so coming off the pitch, Martinez, she walks off under her own power. And I believe Mexico has utilized all 6 of their potential substitutions, so they'll play short for now. And Martinez looks like she's good to go, so she'll come back in and beckoned onto the field by Samantha Moose. Here comes Miura. No whistle blown as carnage of bodies at midfield. And here's a takeaway for Matsubara. And Japan not quite done yet. Here comes another shot attempt, and it's put through, and yep, that's number 9. And Mizuki Sonoda setting that one up, and well, if the first 8 didn't make it official, folks, perhaps that one did, as Sonoda makes it a 9-0 score. And just a complete thrashing here on the parts of Team Japan. Let's check out the replay here. That was Matsubara, number 7. And right down the middle, as easy as can be, one-on-one, was Sonoda with the keeper Barreras. And Sonoda plays at Musashi Gaoka College, private junior college in Saitama, Japan.
For Japan in the 90th minute by number 12.
So Sonoda gets her first goal of the tournament. Japan gets its 9th of the day, outscoring the opposition by a 16-0 tally, and probably public enemy number 1 is Reina Fonseca right now, holding up 1 minute of stoppage time to account for the injury delay. So 1 more minute to add to Mexico's misery here at the national training center, which has seen Japan score 5 second-half goals en route to this 9-0 drubbing. And Mexico just trying to see if they can put one to the back of the net before this tournament is over. This may be their best shot. This one lofted into the air by Brianna Woodall. It's taken by Matsumoto, and that might have been the last opportunity for Mexico to avoid getting shut out for the 3rd consecutive match. Up the field goes Miyagawa. And Lastri will handle it on the back line. And the final whistle has been blown by Samantha Moose. So Japan says adios to Mexico in as dominant a fashion as you can imagine here in the finale for these 2 teams at the U20 NTC Invitational.
Japan 9, Mexico 0.
Yeah, you hear the PA in the background. That is not a misprint, nor it is not a mistake. Japan scoring 9 goals against Mexico in winning the U20 Invitational in a dominant fashion and dominating all aspects of this matchup. It was the speed, it was the technical ability, the scoring prowess, everything earning high marks for Japan, and Mexico's defense unable to stop Japan on any front here today. And well, it was a long day for Estefany Barreras as well, as she saw 9 shots go right past her to the back of the net, and all smiles for Team Japan in the inaugural U20 Women's NTC Invitational. They win it going 3-0 and outscoring the 3 opponents, U.S. 3-0, Brazil 4-0, and Mexico 9-0 for a 16-0 cumulative scoring line. And they defeat Mexico. There's still 1 more match to go here today. The United States and Brazil will take the pitch in about an hour and 20 minutes. So you'll want to stick around for that, as the U.S. and Brazil certainly with some history and a budding rivalry there in women's soccer. But as for this one, well, if you didn't take the water break earlier, we appreciate you bearing with us through this one as Japan wins it 9-0. And we'll be back with you in just a little bit here on ussoccer.com to bring you the finale of the U20 Women's NTC Invitational, as Japan victorious by a 9-goal scoreline. For our great crew, for U.S. Soccer in conjunction with Torbo Sports Group, this is Danny Lee saying so long for now. We'll talk to you in a little bit as the United States ladies take on Brazil. Good afternoon, everyone.